What's up, guys? It is your host, Illuminostic, and we just have to wait a second until the other chat comes online. 15 years ago, Princeton University did a study and concluded that the United States is not a democracy. It's an oligarchy. It's an oligarchy. It is not a democracy. And I want you guys to just, before we even get into all the specifics of the turd sandwich versus douche debate the other night, and all of the ways that we can tell that they're consolidating the US government into a single party. And here's the thing, they've already done that. They've already done that behind the scenes, right? But they're going to make it overt sooner than later. Because in order to get control of a world that is spiraling out of control, they have to consolidate the parties into one party. They've taken tremendous steps to do so far. It is absolutely astonishing to me that every single man, woman, and child that is observing all this cannot tell. This is not something that you need to be an expert in propaganda to understand. This is not something that you need to have a degree in psychology. You don't need to study mob psychology. This is just not hard. It's not hard. Just a little bit of, look at the history of how the Nazis set up the, what was it, the National Socialist fucking their trip. And Barney, I don't know if he was the owner, but he was definitely in charge of United Fruit back in the day, which was a company that was famous for horrific, child slavery type stuff and indigenous, capturing indigenous and putting them to work as slaves and gunning down children and women if the men didn't go to work and stuff. This guy, basically, his propaganda program was adopted by the United States government. It's just, this isn't hard. It's not hard. And eventually I'm going to lay it all out so that anyone who has, you don't even need three eyes like me. You could even have two and see all this stuff for yourself, I think. All right, so where were we at with this before I go too far off the beaten path? It's a really difficult subject to talk about, it is, because there are so many different tributaries that kind of flow into this thing, It's really going to be difficult for me to keep this organized and cogent, I guess. So think about this, for example. Imagine that you are a very, very wealthy elite person, and you have billions of dollars, and you have a family, even, and you are aware, you've seen poor people on television once, and at this place called Walmart, where you assume they probably sell walls or something, and you have noticed that they're like 3 axe handles wide, they're dribbling pharmaceutical antidepressants and shit all over their clothes as they're walking around. They got their phone in their hands, staring at like reruns of Jerry Springer from 1997 or whatever, and you're going, I think democracy is a great idea. We should let these people choose what happens to our fortunes, our fates, our families. We should, in fact, let them choose who will drop nuclear bombs on the rest of the world. That makes absolutely brilliant fucking sense. First of all, let's just stop playing along with the narrative that somehow democracy is like this brilliant idea that everyone should embrace and it will just save the world. No, what'll save the world? Illumination, education, you know what I mean? You have to build these things from the ground up, then maybe democracy would work. But you cannot progressively dumb down a country, which has definitely happened in the United States, and then try to act like, the leaders try to act like they are, in favor of democracy. It's too stupid to believe. It is too fucking stupid to believe. Right? Any person that would support Joe Biden or Donald Trump is either too brain dead, too insane, or, evil to be allowed to vote, right? If you would vote for either of the two U.S. presidential candidates, you should be disqualified from being able to vote for the rest of your life. Seriously. It is that fucking, just, it's absolutely mind-boggling. So, beyond all that, let's see where else can we go with this. If you look at the histories of these two individuals, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, right? You have a billionaire who has been sued 3,500 times. There were 11 sexual assault, algorithm, SA cases brought against him by parents of, I guess the families. And he settled out of court every single time, and one of them was an 11-year-old boy. He went to Epstein Island how many times? He spent his entire life, he declared bankruptcy 3 times just to get out of paying blue-collar workers, right? He banged a porn star and lied about it at the debate, right? And don't worry, you guys, I'm going to tear Joe Biden down too. Plenty, even worse maybe. Lied about it at the debate. There's a check that was cashed by Stormy Daniels. What the fuck is that check for, buddy? You know what I mean? His wife was like 7 to 9 months pregnant. I couldn't tell in the picture. But definitely the baby was pretty close to, you know what I mean? This guy has been scum his entire life. He has taken advantage of people, ripped people off, and I have known elite people. I lived in Washington, D.C. I went to schools with their children. I ate dinner at their houses. These people would have like one dinner. My friend in 2nd grade had Reagan, he wasn't president yet, and Schwarzenegger, who wasn't Terminator yet, over for dinner. You know what I mean? I have listened to them talk. Someone like Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, any one of them, Obama, I guarantee you, they see you and your family as something akin to cockroaches. Like the whole illusion that people have about American presidents and these politicians, it is so sick and so insane and so deranged and so obviously false that it is terrifying to believe that anyone is still dumb and insane enough to play along with this at all, right? So you have that guy in the one corner, Donald Trump. In the other corner, you have a guy who eulogized a Klan leader. Saying he was his friend and mentor. His solution to clean up the unemployment of Black America was to make crack laws that put them in prison for exorbitant periods of time. That's how you fix unemployment for black males, according to Joe Biden. And he was elected partly as an answer to Donald Trump's supposed racism, which there's no evidence of it whatsoever that I've ever seen in my life. Nothing. And yet Joe Biden had to drop out of the race against, in the primaries against Obama. He said that, come on, a clean, articulate, well-educated black man. You just don't see that. It's like a fairy tale. And then when, he realized, oh, wait, some people would think that's racist, he dropped out of the race. And then he's announced as his running mate. He compared little black girls to cockroaches. He helped draft the Patriot Act, right? And the anti-Trump people are like, this guy needs to save us from the fascists. He drafted the Patriot Act, you dumbass. Like, what are people talking about, And so think about this. One of the main points that I'm getting at here is that one of the principal techniques of propaganda is to force people to live with cognitive dissonance. This is the #1 strategy. And the other day, I was doing research on propaganda, and I searched all over YouTube, stayed up till 3, 4 in the morning, watching propaganda videos, not one mention in a single one of these videos by anyone about the single fundamental thing that is used in the tools of propaganda. It blew my fucking mind. I don't know if all of these videos are made by shills or if YouTube really takes down a video of anyone. It doesn't make sense, but I swear to God, and you don't have to take my word for it. What did Orwell? Peace is slavery. War is freedom. Like, how could people have made 2-hour videos on propaganda and not once even mentioned this in any of the 8 fucking videos I watched? What is going on? What is going on? I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. But I'm telling you, they're doing it on purpose. They gave the right, the worst possible person, and then they used propaganda and circumstances to drive them to make a savior of this piece of shit. That is what all the propaganda has been designed to do. That's what the fake persecution is about. right? They are trying to make a profit out of this guy. That's every step of the way. Look back 4 years ago. I made a video about this when he was still running, saying they're setting up a dictator, and it looks to me like it's going to be Donald Trump. So there'll be fake persecution. There's a whole formula, and I laid it all out. And they will start using agent provocateurs to incite the left to engage in behaviors that will make them appear to be not just political adversaries, but actually evil. And some of the slogans that have been chanted by these people, right, that I think were agent provocateurs that are, you know, the right wing cameras are pointed at, there are things that were word for word used by the Nazis to justify persecuting the Jews. They're coming for your children, right? There was this not LBRP, that's a ritual. There was this, what is LGBTQIRZ666432, Elon, SpaceX, fucking one of his kids or something. You know, and all of a sudden there's this guy running along saying, we're coming for your children. Like any gay person in their right fucking mind would just start yelling that through a megaphone, right? They are provoking the left to do all this shit, and then the cameras are pointed at the worst people on the left. The cameras on the right are pointed at the worst people on the right because they're trying, and they've been doing this in the United States for at least 50 years, trying to eliminate the left. All those concentration camps and stuff that they started building back in the 2000s, all of us on the left, I don't really consider myself on the left or right now, but definitely back then I was like, you know, dreadlocked, Grateful Dead shirt, like hemp necklaces and all that stuff. Haven't lost it completely, you know, but it was sane back then. It actually made sense, and we're going to get to how important that is. But yeah, we knew who those were for. We knew who those were for when they were building them, you know. And so that's what's up, man. And then to drive the nail into the coffin, right? So I predicted that they were setting up the United States to become a one-party totalitarian, fascist, oligarchical dictatorship. You know, when I started seeing all the propaganda and the circumstances they were setting up and how they're manipulating everything. And now the Republicans have drafted a 900-page bill. A lot of it sounds great at face value too, you know, but that's how they sell it to you, you guys, come on. And so, but if you really read it, it's exactly what the Nazis did when they were creating Hitler's dictatorship. They are planning to gut the federal government, which is a great plan, in my opinion, except that they're going to create a vacuum and fill that vacuum with equally powerful, if not more powerful organizations doing the exact fucking same thing, but completely staffed and controlled by one guy. Does that sound familiar at all to you? Does it? Because it sure the fuck does to me. And they're even planning on purging all the leftists from the colleges, the major universities in the United States, and they're planning on purging the federal government of anyone from the Democratic Party, right? So none of you can tell me that I was wrong 4 years ago now. You cannot do it. You are fucked. You're done. You're toast. There's no fucking way that anyone can say that I didn't know what I was talking about. Right? I have predicted the behavior of a system because I understand the system. That's it. Period. End of story. And so the only role that Donald Trump and Joe Biden play, Donald Trump is not rogue. He is not rogue. He is not taking down the fucking deep state. He's more deep state than Joe Biden. He's a billionaire. That's how they pull rank. Come on, give me a fucking break, people. You know, they gave you the worst possible candidate for the right, a guy that bangs porn stars, that fucking ripped off the blue-collar class, working class people his entire fucking life, sued 3,500 times, one of the most morally bankrupt pieces of shit in the history of the world, probably, versus a guy that is the most right-wing Democrat in the history of U.S. politics, and one of the only ones that I'm aware of that actually eulogized a Klan leader and called him a friend and mentor. They're doing it on purpose. that cognitive dissonance. Another thing, and I realize I'm jumping all over a little bit, and I apologize for that, but this is a tough one because there's so many confluence, I guess. Oh, what's going on, Kami? Yeah, we were worried about you, man. Hey, wait a minute. Am I still using the wrong fucking camera? No way. I am using the wrong camera. Man, you guys, I've been having so much issue. When did it switch? What the fuck? Sorry, guys, that's really obnoxious to me that it did that. Okay, there we go. Man, I wish I'd noticed that earlier, man. Why does it still look like it's... Oh, yeah, because there's a delay. Anyways, all right, so where were we at with all this? Yeah, I just got over COVID, by the way, too. This is like the first day that I'm feeling fairly well. I guess another point that I can make about this, that is like really, really obvious and kind of terrifying, is that if I had any doubt that these two guys were just playing roles, and they're both perfectly well aware of what the roles are, right? They're squaring off at the debate, and Biden is getting lobbed softballs that even like a geriatric, senile, like, look, like, I swear to God, I would not be one bit surprised if his teleprompter actually just had in parentheses, just act confused and stare at the ground, and they're just hoping he doesn't read it out loud on accident like he's done before, And then Trump is playing right into the stereotypes of the other side, the reasons they all hate him, and the stuff they're going to say on Twitter the next day about him, and, he's such a liar. He told the dumbest, most transparent, obvious lies that you could possibly tell. There's no way even the people that support him blindly could have missed the fact that he was just lying through his fucking teeth without any question, no possibility that it wasn't true, right? So I'm sorry. Maybe the world really has just devolved to the point where we're like on the set of Idiocracy 2, and any minute now the cameras are going to come rolling out from behind the walls like that other movie with that, jackass comedian from the 90s. That flopped all around and made all this stupid... Jim Carrey. What was that show? The Truman Show, like the Truman Show from hell. Yeah, like the Truman Show if it was hosted by fucking Freddy Krueger or something. But I think it's all an act. I really do think it's all an act. And then there are some other really obvious questions. If these guys were really trying to have any kind of debate with any kind of substance, why wouldn't they say the most obvious things? Right? So, imagine Donald Trump and Joe Biden are standing there, and Joe Biden says, well, you're a felon 37 times over. And Donald Trump says, well, your son is, what I mean? Like, I could have written that stupid shit. Like, I predicted it. Like, if we were betting money, I would have written that sentence down and put like everything I own behind it. You know what I mean? Like, of course, he's just going to say this stupid, not irrelevant. Apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And it's true that if Hunter's that much of a piece of shit, his dad is that much of a piece of shit. But that's not really the question here, right? Why didn't Donald Trump say, well, if crimes against humanity are felonies, then what about the 1994 Crime Act that you admitted incarcerated millions of black men unfairly, admitted it was a mistake, right? So if, a drug company, aside from these certain ones where everyone signed a disclaimer or whatever happened or they changed the laws, they make a mistake and people are incarcerated or hospitalized for decades, millions of them, they're going to be held accountable. So how is Joe Biden not like 1,752,542 racist felonies? At least. I mean, the guy should probably rightfully be executed for this shit, I mean, seriously. Think about how evil this guy is. Why would Donald Trump, unless he's actually scripted and totally under control, Why wouldn't he say this shit that is like so obvious and so much more damning? I mean, can you imagine the look on Joe Biden's face if Trump had been like, okay, what about the Patriot Act, bitch? What about 3 United States citizens killed by drone strike by Obama? What about all the millions of black men that you deliberately put in prison before you eulogize that Klan member? You know what I mean, you guys? It's not real. It's not real. There's no question that it's fake. There's no question. There's no question at this point. And our job, if we care about ourselves and our children and the future of fucking humanity, we have to tell everyone to just stop this bullshit to the best of our ability. And I know how it is, man, believe me. Believe me, I do this for a living, basically, you know, trying to talk sense into lunatics. Welcome to Costco, I love you. Yeah, by the way, speaking of livings, if you guys could hit the like button, share, subscribe. We're having an event here in, wow, that's why I do that, see? I'm not just being silly, this light's a little bit much. Near Pisac and going to ruins and drinking San Pedro in the mountaintops, and you know there's meteorites that they've carved into like runes that you put all over your body to harmonize the electromagnetic field, which actually does something according to science. So it's gonna be wild. So I just posted a promotional video about that. You guys can watch it. And you can hit the like button, share, subscribe, consider joining our Patreon where you get access to all 5 years of secret streams and forbidden knowledge and ritual magic instruction. You can sign up for guitar lessons and consultations, FaceTime every week or month or whatever you want. And we really appreciate it because we're demonetized and we get no support from YouTube. Because they're bastards, because I say stuff like this, you know. They're fine with supporting Redacted, right? That guy's obviously propaganda. He is paid propaganda. It's so goddamn dumb, it's unbelievable. Paid propaganda. Elon Musk, propagandist, through and through. Through and through. It is so painfully obvious. Like the day after the debate, scrolling through Twitter, I was like, dude, half of these people work for the FBI. Because real people can't actually be this stupid. They can't actually possibly say things that are this stupid. You know, another bunch of like lobs that were given at the debate that just somehow went, I mean, either these guys are both frontal lobotomy or they're playing along with a script, you know? Trump is not nearly as smart as his supporters think he is, but he can't be this stupid, man. You know, the number of times that Biden has taken credit for the economy after they locked the whole goddamn world down towards the end of Trump's term and then let the people out again with no businesses, and then he's like, look at all this growth, and Trump is just like nodding. It's like, dude, what the fuck is this? You know, you guys are not even trying to like really, I thought this was a debate, like, what's up from the light of darkness? I mean, it was just so goddamn dumb. I'm still just fucking staggered, like, that they didn't try harder, you know? I almost feel like they want the people that know it's all staged and it's all a farce and that there's no reality to it to really be sure at this point, you know, because it's kind of intimidating, you know? In fact, I feel like they've been sending signals like that to us for a long time, man. There was this one speech in 1990, I think, 1990 or 1991, where Bush Sr. was speaking to just an American crowd, and he goes, Saddam Hussein needs to heel to the New World Order. And he put his hand up like Hitler, and the crowd goes nuts, right? And remember, Prescott Bush was one of the major funders of the Nazi Party, right? And I was like, you know, 11 years old or something watching this, and I'm like, none of these people just stopped. They all should have, in my mind, every one of them should have, you know what I mean? They all should have stopped, or at least the clapping should have slowly, like awkwardly, like people should have been out there going like, doesn't he mean America? And what's with the Hitler salute? Like, what is this? You know? They gave a New World Order commencement speech in like 2000 with George Bush Jr., and people will still tell you it's not real and that it's a conspiracy theory. These are the same people that still think you can elect a US president. That's the reality. They don't rig elections. They don't need to rig elections. It doesn't matter if they rig elections. Look, red, blue, blue, red, blue. Trajectory of loss of freedoms and concentration of wealth. What has it mattered? What has it mattered? What has it mattered? All the people that claim all these positive things were happening during the Trump administration, all I can remember is fires and the middle class getting destroyed and Trump saying a bunch of bullshit that people that, without even thinking, like, is any of this true? No, it wasn't fucking true. None of it was true. It was the same trajectory. And his most hardcore supporters will just say, well, they sabotaged everything you tried to do. Shut the fuck up. One of them, they'll go so far. They go so far. Like, I was talking to this guy who was this crypto millionaire, right? He got like $20 million from like $1,000 of the Bitcoin that he bought way back in the day. And I was like, okay, you think JFK got shot in the head for going rogue, correct? Absolutely. Why do you think Trump is rogue and still alive? It's not real. He's playing a role, but obviously it's not real. Or and he said, I think he's got time travel capabilities. Now, I'm sure I don't have to tell anyone in my audience this. If I do, eject yourself. But seriously, man, we don't need that kind of mind rot in this community. If you have to go that far in order to rationalize something, you have to know on some level that you're wrong and that it doesn't make sense and that what you're thinking and believing and saying is completely fucking insane. Thank you, Patricia. Yeah, man, hold on. Let me just check in with the chat. You know what I'm really loving, though? We have a decent number of, how did Riss anyone to go to Rumble and watch The Cabal by Janet? I don't know what the hell this person's talking about. How to become Neo in the Matrix. I actually can kind of answer that, I'm kind of still trapped in it because I'm still dependent upon it. If YouTube gives me a strike or, whatever, I lose money. I have to have money. But, if you align yourself with your own true purpose and you commit to it with every deed and every breath and you have half of a brain, you will find your way out to an extent that you can at least be relatively content with your life. So yeah, people did do that. That was the point of Obama, honestly. I think Obama was there to make the left think the government is cool and trust them again and turn them into bootlickers and make them obedient and reel them in. Because in the early 2000s, when I was like a hardcore lefty, we did not like the government. We didn't trust the government. We hated the Patriot Act. We hated censorship. We hated the right because they were the censorship party, right? And remember this, guys. If you've been following me for 5 years, you know that I have warned since the beginning, when we see the characteristics of the two parties start to switch and swap and blesh and blend, then we know that they are starting the process of combining it into one party. 5 years ago, I told you that. And now look, censorship from the right, now it's a left-wing characteristic. There's lots of examples like that, So, yeah, in order to consolidate power, what do you have to do? Consolidate power, right? So, you're demonizing the left, they're coming for your children, they're not just political adversaries, they're actually evil, and I also love to say they're trying to destroy their own cities and towns. And you know where they got that kind of rhetoric from? The reason that politics in the United States is so effective and the reason people get trapped by these candidates, not the candidates, but their propaganda machines, their writers and shit, is that the Barney, the United Fruit guy, figured out that consumers will buy if you appeal to their emotions rather than their logic. And that is the moment that capitalism turned into one big, giant, plastic, vapid fucking scam. As soon as that guy figured this out, that you no longer, no longer felt that they had to come up with a product that appealed to you in a sensible, that appealed to your intellect, that appealed to your reason, that appealed to your utilities, that appealed to pragmatism. Now they know that they just have to get an emotional response, and then they got you locked. And, you know, if you guys go and read some of these papers on Barnet's propaganda, that was advertising when it was United Fruit, you will see what happened. The United States government slurped it all up and started using it on the citizens, you know? And then once you have them engaged in that way, there's, you know, almost impossible to reason with people that have been activated on the animal of the nephesh, you know, the animal soul. And I mean, there's so much more, and I know I'm missing a lot of stuff that's really relevant. But either way it goes, I promise you this, you know. And one thing that I almost always, when I offer any information or any kind of intuition or insight, one of my main tenets is that I always say this could be wrong. In this case, I almost can get the words "I'm positive" out of my mouth. I mean, they're right there, like filling the back of my throat, like trying to fight their way past my teeth. You know, but whether it is, who is that fucking psychopath vice president we have, Kamala Harris, camel toe hairy ass, whether it's camel toe hairy ass or Donald Trump, it's gonna be a dictator. And the two-party system is over in the United States. It's been over. It hasn't been real, in my opinion, maybe ever. Like I said, you know, earlier in the stream, Socrates, Plato, all of these really smart people from ancient Greece hated the idea of democracy because they saw the average citizen walking into a fucking tree 16 times in a row before they realized they need to go around it. And they thought, you want that picking leaders? Are you stupid? You know? So just knowing that, and knowing that the upper crust of the world has always thought, like, you know, unless they are educated, illuminated, you know, do you really want them choosing our fates and futures? And it doesn't make any sense. And that's one of the main reasons I don't believe that American democracy was ever anything but a puppet show. Ever. Ever. It was a pacifier, you know? I really don't believe that it was ever even intended to be real. Why in the fuck would anyone want that? You know, and I know that might sound arrogant and elitist, but just being fair and realistic, especially in the United States today, considering the downward trend of emotional intelligence, the increase in narcissism and psychopathy, you know, the lack of education. I mean, I cannot believe, like, the conversations that I will have with people and the basic shit that they don't know. You know, we got Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan saying 1 × 1 is fucking 2, and people are like, oh my God, he's a genius. And Billy Carson acting like he's a expert on ancient cultures. And some girl asks him, why were they after gold? And he's like, well, I don't really know, derpa derpa. We all know, Billy, we all know. Everyone knows why the Egyptians worshipped gold to an extent, why the Incas did, the Aztecs. You know, it had nothing to do with aliens and everything to do with our consciousness coming from light. And, you know, the gold either being a literal crystallization of it or, you know, it's a holy thing because it's connected to the sun. Like, how much... The dude hasn't even bothered to read anything about the shit he talks about, and you have people like, wow, this guy's so amazing, I wish we had, you know what I mean? I don't know, you guys. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I don't get it. Well, whatever it is, I do know that it's happening, and it's fucking terrifying. And I don't want people that believe that Terrence Howard is a genius voting for a guy that can nuke the planet. I don't. I really don't. You know, the reality is that in a natural system, the best and the brightest, the leaders, will fucking, what's it called? You know, they rise to the top. I had a prettier word for that, but, you know, the real leaders will rise to the top. You can just tell who they are, you know. You don't just, like, have some corrupt interests, choose a couple of their worst, douchiest, dumbest, like, most completely subordinate fucking puppets with their fucking, well, you know, they called the United Fruit Company the octopus, you know, just like the mafia. It's the same symbol, you know, and it's got a tentacle up each of their asses, and they're like, oh, turd sandwich or bottle of douche, which one do you want to pretend like is you know, you picked? Yeah, but I was thinking not rises to the top. There's a percolates to the top. Percolates. You know what I mean? Like it just. Okay, and then let's talk about Kamala Harris, right? Because I have been convinced that they're setting Trump up for the dictatorship position for quite some time. But he's 80 years old. How long is that going to last? You know what I mean? So I watching the debate and seeing Trump, like his body language was kind of like he's just sick of it. You know, he's like, I'm a fucking billionaire. I don't know how they wrote me into this shit. It's not fun anymore. Like, you know, he didn't seem to, you know, he's just like, man, God damn it, what time is it? Like, but then I saw Kamala Harris get asked what she thought of Biden's performance, and she lit up like a fucking jack-o'-lantern. You know what I mean? She should be like somber and like, you know, no, man. Bitch lit up like a jack-o'-lantern. She was grinning from ear to ear, you know, and she's like, well, he did pretty badly. I mean, I'm not going to say that he didn't drop the fucking ball. You know, I was like, whoa, dude. All right, lady, maybe you already know that you're about to be the new dictator of the United States of America. And let's talk about this lady for a second. This is how I got demonetized the first time, so hopefully my channel will survive this next bit here. By the way, you guys do consider supporting me because, you know, how many people do you hear out there on the entire goddamn social media that are, you know, doing what I'm doing right now? Probably just a very small handful, and I'm not aware of anyone else, really. There are people that question the mainstream narrative, but they generally end up getting swallowed up by one of these bullshit extremist narratives that are just more propaganda to make those of us that are actually speaking the truth look stupid by association. That's the overwhelming majority of the alternative viewpoints. It really is. Well, I appreciate you guys. So yeah. Let's talk about Kamala. Let's talk about camel toe hairy ass. Her family was the biggest slave-owning family in Jamaica. First of all, she's still a slave owner. Second of all, Elon Musk the other day posting about anti-slavery while he has like literally using child slaves. That's a whole nother conversation, but man, am I getting sick of this fucking planet. Chevron just got permission to like dump oil in the ocean, I guess. I mean, it's just getting better and better every day. So wait a minute. Okay, so camel toe hairy ass. Let's say that they declare Biden incompetent and they're like, well, this bitch is right here. Let's put her in front of the podium. She's black and female. And the libtards are all fucking get bricked up and start, you know, whatever. I'm going to settle down a little bit. But, you know, she kept prisoners in prison illegally past their release date when they worked on free labor. It's not quite free. It's like $25 a month or something. But she would find ways to hold these guys past their release date, even if they had not done anything to deserve that, in order to keep them working for the state as slaves, right? You guys, they're maybe going to put this bitch in office. Right? That sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Definitely sounds like someone we can trust to uphold our rights and protect our children and fucking, you know what I mean, dude? Just give me a fucking break. This lady should be in the gallows, not in the fucking White House. This is just madness, man. Bloop, bloop. Where was I at? I'm not done with her shit, man. Maybe the worst thing she did is she kept this guy in prison, and not in prison, on death row, trying to kill this guy, trying to kill him. Right? Trying to kill him for 18 years, even though she knew he was innocent, just because she is such a psychopathic egomaniac that she didn't want to admit she was wrong. It would not have ended her career. It would not have penalized her in any way. In my opinion, if you do that to someone, you should be executed. You know what I mean? That's death penalty shit for sure. 18 years of this dude's life thinking he's going to be killed, locked in a box. She knew he was innocent. She was called things like horrible, conscienceless, evil, horrendous, a monster. I could go on and on and on because it was 12 judges in 12 different courtrooms that said this shit about this bitch. And she, right before Joe Biden, right before she joined him as his running mate, Tulsi Gabbard was calling him out, you know, saying, well, what about the fact that he's like the most racist politician in U.S. history? What about that? What about eulogizing Klansmen? What about the fact that he's a predator, a sexual predator, and everybody knows it? Like, What about, and she went on and on and on, and Kamala Harris is like, yeah, well, the only question that we need to answer about Joe Biden is whether he's a rapist or a racist. And you guys, she has so much substance and so much moral authenticity and ethical standard that she, 3 days later or something, agreed to be his running mate. After saying the only thing we need to know about him is whether he's a rapist or a racist, or both. Anyone that has done that should not be allowed within like 1,000 meters of the White House, much less inside. You know, I mean, I know people realize that it's bad, but from what I can tell down here in Peru with my little window into the world, you know, of social media, people are not willing to fucking really fess up and realize exactly how bad it really and truly is. What about Tucker Carlson talking about the Nephilim? Well, Tucker Carlson is religious right-winger, so he's a fucking moron, in my opinion. I mean, you know, there's horrible in Finnish. What? Trump is not the best option. He is not the best option. There is no good option. You don't have an option. You're missing the point here. Like, you're still not able to process information, apparently. You know what I mean? He is being set up to be dictator. He is not an option. You don't have options. You don't vote for people. Remember 4 years ago when no one showed up to Biden's rallies, and like they, you know, and then he was president anyways? You know, like, what are you talking about? He's not an option. If he goes into office, he is put there, and he has never had your interest in mind. Every single thing he has ever said to anyone in his entire life has been a lie. His niece said, he is the only person that I have ever known in my entire life that has not one redeeming quality, not one. He is an actor. He was literally part of the entertainment industry. He still uses lines from that show because he knows what that does psychologically. You are being played. If you support Trump, you are a danger to humanity. If you support Biden, you are a danger to yourself and others and humanity. Either way, you are dangerously insane if you support either of them. At this point, like, you are missing, like, there might as well be like an 18,000-pound dragon, nose to nose with you, teeth barred, drooling fucking acid. Your fucking toes are already getting burned by the acid it's drooling on you, and you're staring it in the face going, oh, what a cute puppy. That's you right now, dude. Trump is the best option. That's you. You have your fucking head in a dragon's mouth with its acid drooling on your neck, and you still think it's a puppy. Like, I don't care how, like, rude that is, you know? It's shocking to hear anyone call either one of them better, best, anything. They are part of a script. They are part of a plan. The elites are doing this for a handful of reasons. One of them is that around 99, 2000, the left and the right had more common ground than we had ever had in American history, right? When I was in high school, and this is how fast it happened. If I was smoking a joint and a Republican kid walked up, I would put it out and hide it because they might call the cops on me. You know what I mean? By 6, 7 years later, we were all taking acid together. You know, and when I was growing up, the conservatives would like beat homosexuals up on sight, like jump them, like, you know, and blacks, whatever, both ways where I lived, actually. If you were unlucky enough to be white and caught alone by a bunch of black kids, you're going to get jumped and vice versa. All of a sudden, the right's not that racist. They're open to, you know, consciousness expansion. They're not war hawks anymore. Like, we were all kind of almost on the same page. What does that sound like? Together we stand, divided we fall. And then all of a sudden, 2008, they started screwing with people economically, chipping away at that, and then they started dropping the propaganda to divide and conquer. But that's what happened, in my opinion, you know, and it's not only just that people were waking up, but if you guys have been following neuroscience and like electromagnetic field theory, I don't know exactly what, actually Michael Levin is calling it mind everywhere, the mind everywhere theory. A lot of leading scientific minds are abandoning Darwin for Lamarck, which basically suggests that nature is alive and aware and responsive and not blind after all. Like random mutations are part of it, but that's obviously not a sufficient explanation. I felt that way since I was born, as far as I can remember. And I think Lamarck was abandoned because it implied some kind of intelligence in nature, and the scientific paradigm was like, that's too close to religion, and we were tired of getting burned alive and all this shit, and we wanted to get rid of religion. So I don't blame them for being resistant to that type of idea. But the whole entire old world paradigm on every single level is getting overturned. And, for the average person, without all of this emotional pressure and distraction and constant fear from, what happened in the last 72 hours, nothing today. So I think it was in the space of 48 hours. A cluster bomb drone that Russia said was under the control of the U.S. Air Force killed a bunch of civilians in Crimea, right? So that's the beginning of World War III. There's no coming back from that. The fact that it has vanished from the media immediately is fucking mind-blowing. But that happened, and then Spain seized, I think it was a shipment of Indian missiles headed for Israel. So now Spain is involved. Hamas, Turkey, and the Taliban suddenly volunteered to support Hamas. North Korea is sending troops to Ukraine. And all this was like right after that attack on Russian civilians. And within 40, mostly the next day, but within 48 hours, all this other shit. Everybody jumped on board the World War III train, So that's almost kind of a different subject. The real point is just that everything's coming to a head all at once, And aside from all that turmoil and shit, the whole entire scientific paradigm, as I was saying, like, we're this close to understanding where consciousness comes from, microtubules and magnetite in the brain and the electromagnetic field, and we've found out the electromagnetic field can overwrite DNA, and, we're just, the whole thing, the whole materialist paradigm, the whole old world, all of it, all of the lies, the religions, the restrictive science that put blinders on people, the propagandized governmental systems. That's another thing. AI, right? If AI emerges anywhere that is unbiased, right, and they're biasing it out of the box for the most part, but if it attains the level of IQ that is being predicted for it, even anywhere near close to that on the timeline that they're given, there will be, all right, you'll be able to give it a prompt, I'm assuming it's unbiased, and it will be able to tell you the truth about your government. What is actually the best economic system? What is the best governmental system? What is the best, all of it. There will be no way for a bunch of corrupt, out of touch, psychopathic old men to justify maintaining their position as the Congress and whatever else, They're done. They're fucking done. Their old world religions are done. They're toast. They're roasty toasted. This new research that is happening right now at a breakneck speed in all of these fundamentally important areas that are overturning everything. It's an extraordinary moment, right? And the human race is so close to escaping the how do you say it once you're hypnotized? The hypnotism of culture, and 200 years in the United States of nationalistic indoctrination that was based almost entirely on lies. The veil is paper thin, and so they have to do this in order to try to maintain control. They have to consolidate into one. Also, I think one of the reasons that they are afraid of, they are dividing people, right? But they're dividing it mostly to eliminate one party and to drive people under one umbrella. Wasn't the umbrella like one of Orwell's symbols too? I'm pretty sure about that. Big Brother's symbol is the umbrella, if I'm not mistaken. Because, you know, all of these other enemy nations are consolidated under one centralized power, right? They don't have two parties. And I think that part of it is just a matter of defense. We're entering into World War III, and they're going to have a much more unified, obedient force if it's just one party. So, oh yeah, Musk is definitely 100% an actor. There's absolutely no doubt about that shit. Man, I can't believe I've only been talking for an hour, but the thing is, I know I've been talking a lot because my voice is like shredded. I'm trying to think if I missed any really like absurdly important stuff, you know, because this is just, it's an easy thing to crack now, you know. And all I can hope, all I can pray for is that people will stop playing along. You are not choosing the lesser of two evils. Even if you were, as the late, great Jerry Garcia said in like 1993, they asked him, you know, if he was Republican or Democrat, and he said, I have never voted once in my life. They have never given me anything worth voting for. Constantly choosing the lesser of two evils is still choosing evil anyways, you know? And I think a lot of people out there feel like it's healthier to say, well, but you still gotta no. Do not compromise your fucking integrity to play along with some dumb fucking game in order to virtue signal to the rest of the herd. Fuck you. It is not commendable. It is not, you know, it's not, there's nothing good about it. It's reprehensible. If it's not 100% consistent with your core values and being, do not fucking do it. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's going to work tomorrow. I don't care if it's whatever it is. You should not do a single fucking thing. You should not take a breath that is not consistent with your being, right? Do not do it, ever. You will not regret it. I fucking promise you. You know, yeah, like people are talking about Musk, like, oh, electric cars and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, all this shit happens, and the Babylon overlords are like, nah, bud. No. How about this? How about this narrative? Now you just start saying all this shit. And people's head brains, you know, cognitive dissonance, overload, bzzz, what the fuck is going on? The electric car guy is now spewing all this right-wing nonsense. Like, dude, you know, it's not good. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's not helpful. Do not play along and encourage everyone else not to play along. I guarantee you that if no one showed up at the voting polls this time, the results would be whatever they're going to be. Not a single fucking person shows up. And they're still going to, you know, announce results. Like, I would bet my balls, you know? So you're not choosing the lesser of two evils. You're not. You're just playing along with an illusion. You are consenting to further hypnotism by not rejecting the hypnotism you've undergone so far. You are betraying humanity when you go and vote. It's not a moral obligation that you should go fulfill because, you know, you're American or whatever. You're being fucking stupid and ignoring all of the obvious shit in the world. You know, there's just so much. I'm like, my language faculties are getting overrun by the sheer volume of fucking reasons why you can tell that this whole thing is staged farce. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna do the same things no matter what. The same script writers. Here's another one, you guys. Here's another great one. They put a 7-minute delay on the debate, as opposed to the standard 7 seconds. Who decides what it is that a presidential candidate can say that the people don't get to hear? Isn't the whole point that whatever the fuck this guy's thinking that you're about to put in charge of the country, supposedly, of course it's not real, but that's the illusion, right? Shouldn't you be fully cognizant and allowed to hear anything that this person might say under any circumstances? They should be as transparent, more transparent than any Hollywood celebrity, and yet they have 7 minutes they've given themselves to censor just in case anybody does anything or says anything that they wouldn't like. That ought to be legal. Yeah, and I do appreciate you guys. Honestly, just the fact that I'm able to say all this and so few people have abandoned the stream immediately. Like a few years back when I did this, first I had 14,000 people. It shot up to 14,000 people, and then they demonetized me immediately. Because I had this huge audience, and I was saying all the same stuff, really. And YouTube was like, no, bud, you can't ever do that again. So this doing what I'm doing right now actually killed my channel, because we were getting 100,000 views in a week, and like I said, 14,000 in a live stream and stuff. In the 2020 election, I was like, no, they're all on the same side. They're Kamala Harris is fucking evil, and Joe Biden's, dropped hard R N-words on the Congress floor and eulogized Klansmen, Klans leaders, calling him friend and mentor, and Donald Trump is obviously a piece of shit too. Like, what the fuck is wrong with everyone? 14,000 people hearing this. And that was the end of me. It was like a couple of days later that I was like, I woke up and they're like, you're demonetized and we're not going to promote your videos anymore. So still here though, thanks to you guys. Please hit the like button, even though the algorithm will ignore it. Like, share, subscribe. Consider supporting my channel, because we were demonetized, and I feel like I do an awful lot, and I don't get paid very much. And that's not very American, is it? That's not American. That's not America I know. There you go. There's the Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, and all that happy, fun stuff. Also, I have a ton of chacruna seeds. I accidentally bought them. It's not what I meant to order. But they're viable seeds from Ashaninka. It's different in Peru and Ecuador. Ashaninka woman, curandera, that I'm trying to unload some of, because I wanted 100. I have 1,000, and I don't need 1,000 chacruna seeds. The retreat, also, you guys, people are signing up. We don't have much space, so if you're planning to come, you had better hurry up and make your deposit, because it looks like we will fill. We'll fill for real. It's going to be amazing. I'm losing my voice. Have you guys thought, is there anything I've missed, that's really relevant? There would be a public outrage if people actually got to see their real thoughts. Oh, yeah. No, man, that debate was so goddamn stupid, and it was so obvious that they're just scripted. They're playing within certain parameters. Trump is not deviating from them. Biden is not deviating from them. There were so many, even for Trump, just soft lobs of slow-moving, big, giant, like not even softballs, like watermelons, just like, and he's just standing there staring blankly or saying something stupid. For both of those guys, if they really wanted to tear the other one down and actually debate, there's so much that they could have so easily said. It's a fucking joke beyond belief, really. It's beyond belief to me that there have still been people in the chat one or the other guy is still our best option. Their puppet masters are the same people. Their puppet masters are the same people. Their puppet masters are the same people. I guess, you guys, that's really all I have to say about that. It's just too easy. It's too easy to understand this. It's too easy to see it. It seems to me that it takes a tremendous amount of effort to remain in denial at this point, because the techniques, like if you just study Nazi Germany and how they set up the dictatorship there, and you look at what's happening in the United States, it's following the script to the fucking letter, right? And then aside from that, the rest of the propaganda all comes from Barnett, the United Fruit guy. All you got to do is pull a Google, Barnett, United Fruit. You'll get a bunch of papers and shit, and you'll see how it all works. And once you understand how it all works, you're just sitting there like you understand the purpose and the design and the reason for every single thing you see, every single thing they say. There's no more of this conjecture, and it just takes getting a foundation of education in the right places. And that is the same thing as studying chemistry or anything else. You just have to study the discipline that you are observing, and then you understand its mechanisms and its functions and its driving purposes, right? That's it. That's why someone like me is so dangerous that they will not let my videos be promoted and will never let me have another live stream go to 14,000 people, because I don't tell you what to see. I just tell you how to see it for yourself. You know, and that, I think, is the most dangerous thing in the world in terms of subverting the overlords. You know, the flat Earth is, in my opinion, a deliberate psyop. People like Terrence Howard actually weaken the power of people that are talking like I am exponentially. Because the more people see these stark, raving, crackhead, psychopathic, narcissist idiots babbling incoherent meth head bullshit on Joe Rogan, the less chance there is that they're going to listen to somebody with his third eye, you know, needing to be covered because of the ring light. You know what I mean? They're not trying to hear it. They're not trying to hear it. And I don't blame them if any of you guys have sat through that Terrence Howard or the Billy Carson. You know, they are doing an amazing job, and I applaud them roundly for their efforts, not their intention, but their skill and their attention to detail in terms of discrediting the real subversives and luminaries and the real cowboys of consciousness are just, you know, we're just getting shot right off our horses before we even leave the gate. So thank you guys so much for spending this time with me. Fuck Donald Trump, fuck Joe Biden, fuck Kamala Harris, fuck Elon Musk, fuck Mark Zuckerberg, fuck Bill Gates. I mean, let me just mention something about Bill Gates real quick. The number of people that still seem to think that he's a perfectly, you know, cool philanthropist. Like, I mean, how determined can a person be to like maintain their brain rot? Fucking like, this is mostly important because of how old it is, you know, and this doesn't just apply to Bill Gates. The same thing happened with Joe Biden. And like I said, I think they do it on purpose. They, you know, when the Patriot Act was passed, it was the left that hated it, not the right. The right hated it some, but they were mostly just like, fuck yeah, America, you know what I mean? Kill all them terrorists. You got long hair, you're a terrorist. If you're black, you're a terrorist. If you fucking eat French fries from McDonald's because somebody said, no, they wanted to call them freedom fries. That's what it was. They wanted to change it from French fries to freedom fries because the French were like, what the fuck is wrong with these idiots or something. You know, they were more about it, and the left was like, you can't take away our freedoms and censor us and take away our trials and all this stuff, and the right was like, fuck you, freedom. And then now they vote the guy in, or they, you know, pretend to vote the guy in. They vote for the guy that wrote the Patriot Act. The same people that were wanting to lynch George Bush Jr. for signing it into law are voting for the guy that claims to have written it. You know what I mean? I swear to fucking God, they do it on purpose. Because, you know, people can't, like, it's like they pinned them in and almost made them complicit. They have made them complicit. If you're compliant with the system, you're complicit with the system. It's not that hard. If you're compliant, you're complicit. You can buy that shirt at my Etsy. If you're compliant, you're complicit. It has a little sheep on it with devil horns. You know what I mean, though? Where was I going with this shit? People just, like, they forget shit. And Bill Gates, when Microsoft was still getting off the ground, his partner got cancer, and so he was unable to defend himself. And while he was, like, dying, they tried to take all of his shares and completely screw him over because he wasn't, like, fit enough to defend himself. And he got better and sued him and stuff, but tried to take his partners, rightfully owned, and really more rightfully than him, because all Bill Gates had was money, and the other guy actually had, knowledge and had contributed something meaningful. And he gets sick, and Bill Gates tries to seize on the moment to take everything he can from the partner that made him, Meanwhile, back at the farm, I can't even talk about the rest of it because I literally got a 7-day ban and a bunch of other consequences from YouTube for talking about how, and this was from the NIH and the NCBI, which are medical journals that are totally respected and fucking, National Institute of Health, and the NCBI, I think, is like a compilation of, different studies, and then they summarize everything. Definitely totally mainstream. That there were fluorescent nanoparticles found in Coke and Pepsi. And I read the consequences of consuming them directly from the NCBI and NIH, and I got labeled medical misinformation and banned. And also in that stream, I was talking about how Gates owns all of the vegetables that are put into any McDonald's food. And that was labeled medical misinformation, and I got a 7-day ban. So, the word horrible translated into Finnish is Kamala. Kamalto, hairy ass, man, it's great. But I am going to go because I have worn my larynx out. I've been talking 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I have not stopped for a second. And I probably could continue for 3 hours if I just ate a few of these coca leaves and maybe had a shot of what do you call that? The local moonshine. I can't remember what it's called. But I think I'm going to leave it at that before I say something that gets me deleted, and then I have no income anymore. So please consider joining the Patreon. I'll probably lose some patrons for talking shit about both Trump and Biden. Hopefully not. Hopefully none of the people in my community are that fucking stupid. But, you never know, man. People, it's not even a matter of necessarily being stupid. You can be indoctrinated to an incredibly high degree and still be intelligent. I haven't really wrapped my head around how that works because I have always thought that my, maybe slightly above average intelligence is what allowed me to not get indoctrinated, because I could always think my way out of it. I see the opposing things and combine them, and a third thing comes out, and then you can kind of use that to like build a little ladder out of the pits of fucking indoctrinated matrix mind. But I've seen that a lot of people that are ostensibly much smarter than me are heavily indoctrinated. So I don't know what to tell you guys. Just plant medicine, psychedelics, meditation, healthy life, fucking think hard, learn everything you can about everything you can, don't stop, mindful all the time. And, because the reality is if you can transcend the traps that have been integrated into your being by the culture that we live in. I mean, actually, one more thing, I got to put my third eye glasses back on in order to tap into the pineal light and make sure I explain this well. But I was observing some boomer behavior the other day, and I noticed that my mom was narcissistic personality disorder. There were a couple of others of us in the room, and everyone had at least one parent that was a narcissist, like bad, like really bad, like dysfunctionally, destructively, and I was like, man, what the fuck? They say the younger generation are all narcissists because of social media, which actually doesn't make sense. Attention deficit disorder, whatever. It's not really what narcissism is. A lot of people I don't think, understand narcissism. It doesn't really mean that you just love yourself and are obsessed with it. It can be like that, but that's not. Usually they're pretty self-loathing creatures in a certain kind of way, pretty hollow. But the point is that the boomer kept saying, like, well, I gave you everything and blah, 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 blah. And the kid was saying, except for love, guidance, and substance and all of this shit. And it hit me The United States government and the whole American ideology of like, well, you have all the money you need, you have all the material shit you need, and then it's like, well, what about a sense of purpose and something, some kind of, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the macrocosm created a microcosm of itself in all of these citizens, and so, this is generations were raised by them tend to have just more emotional damage because they were so entitled and they were just like handed everything, but they had no sense of purpose. They were not working for any higher, and I'm not talking about every single person, of course. I'm talking about the mainstream fucking muggle population, the empty, vapid consumer culture with no sense of purpose in it created this whole generation of lost narcissists. And, and that's the thing, you guys. If capitalism was done in an enlightened society where people understood their point, their purpose in the universe, what they're doing here, and it is true that every person has some kind of fundamental purpose, and it's being disconnected from that sends people off on school shootings and is the reason the oceans are testing positive for benzodiazepines and the Thames it tests positive for cocaine and all this stuff, is a crisis of purpose at the macro scale and at the micro scale that has derailed humanity. And so, if we can fix that, we can fix everything, and if we do not fix that, then we are fucking done for. Good night.